Princess Naravan Dracovin, Lord Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on the clans and bloodlines of Vampire the Masquerade in the world of darkness. Well, we've been driving through so many of them. Today I have an interesting one for you. The Caitiff. Now the Caitiff has two true meanings to it. The first meaning is basically those vampires that have been snubbed by their sires, basically abandoned either through mistake they were creating or for whatever reason they were left to their own devices. These vampires know not of what their clan is. They have no clan support. They just technically are of a clan, only abandoned. They have no true clan structure. Now the other meaning of it is, of course, those of a blood that have no clan. This is, of course, more basically based upon your bloodline in a way. This is biological. You find that there are vampires that have no clan disciplines and no weaknesses. Now, this is often associated with thin blood vampires, those of very high generations. And there is some overlap between it, but it isn't a necessity. There are some lower generation Caitiff that have been born. Those without clan discipline, those without weakness. So there is some overlap here that there are many that automatically consider when they hear the word Caitiff to be thin-blooded. It's almost an assumption, though this is just a terminology from it. Regardless, if you are Caitiff, you have no clan disciplines. You can take any disciplines to begin with, and all your disciplines are increased during using of experience at a rate of 6 times your current level. So you can pretty much upgrade any discipline you have at a cheaper in-between cost, in between clan discipline and non-clan discipline of any other vampire. So they do have a way and an advantage when it comes to experience. There's also a social stigma to being a Caitiff anyway. That's the main weakness of it, that many degenerate and snub them and degrade them just for not being part of a clan. They find the excuse to be able to do so, and well, do so. Now, there has been since ancient time always those vampires that have been born without the curse of Cain. Some feel that they are the basically heirs to the second generation in Cain. And in those old days, when the blood of vampires was still strong, of course, this made, to a degree, sense. This was an interesting thing. But as ages has happened, we see changes have occurred in the way that we look upon the Caitiff itself. Some of those ancient Caitiff, which, again, were born in those old days, still exist to this day, and basically don't have a clan discipline and don't have clan weaknesses. Because even those that are Caitiff that were abandoned, the curse is still strong. They still have a weakness. They still have clan disciplines. It's just that we do see those that are truly the clanless biologically did exist in ancient days. It is important to note that those that basically think of themselves as heirs to the second generation or Cain tended to be finished off if they spoke their mind. People don't like them talking about this because it's almost thinking of themselves as superior. Basically, not having the same weaknesses as everyone else. Now, in the years since World War II, the Caitiff population has effectively been, well, blooming, and has been increasing in number. Typically, these do appear as higher generation, and especially those the thin blood, which elders have begun to worry about. Thin blood which have been born with less and less connection to Cain and the bloodlines, and the abilities of those bloodlines are becoming more and more of a concern, as these do seem to be a direct correlation to Caitiff. So basically, many elders just see Caitiff and thin bloods as something to wipe off the face of existence because they don't have Cain's protection or any kind of vampire's protection. They just can be eliminated. Now, on the Sabbat side, though, Joseph Pander has managed to basically unite that sex Caitiff into a group known as the Panders, who have gained some level of recognition. There was an attempt in the 70s, 1973, for a similar organization to occur within the Camarilla, but it's said that most of those have either been imprisoned or eliminated, those that attempted to basically gain a level of recognition within that group. Now, Caitiff have attempted to organize in the past, but the fact is because they themselves are so disorganized and don't have any true connections, all attempts to organize some kind of group have pretty much fallen apart. But also because established clans have every motivation to make sure the Caitiff remain disorganized. They're basically a loose group of mistakes in their eyes, so keeping them disorganized is something they really want to occur. This does mean occasionally some of these Caitiffs do fall through the cracks, create their own dark broods and things, and basically those worst ideas about Caitiff do occur occasionally and set a bad example for the entire group as a whole. There are some Caitiff that seek acceptance and protection. They turn to groups like the Sabbat and the Anarchs, which tend to accept them more, especially for the Camarilla, which tends to eliminate them. Others snub and basically find no interest in vampire politics as a whole, and basically form their own existences out there on their own. Now, during the third and the most recent Sabbat Civil War in the 1950s, Joseph Pander came out and formed a group organizing the Sabbat's Caitiff into a single unit. He managed to get some support from some of the La Sombra and the Semiche elders of the Sabbat, basically using them as a weapon against some of their enemies. This resulted in this sect earning a level of recognition and almost becoming a clan in their own right within the Sabbat. Many of the legitimate clans disliked this, but in the end, Joseph Pander and his group won. They earned a level of recognition with the Sabbat, and they are considered their own group now. They managed to continue to carve out their niche within it through, of course, bloodshed and diplomacy combined, wherever it's required to use. Joseph Pander is said to survive into modern nights also, even though there are plenty of rumors of his assassination repeatedly. So like their Camarilla and their Anarch counterparts, Panders have no inherent weakness, have no inherent disciplines. They basically get a kind of grudging respect, and oftentimes get the worst jobs when it comes to Sabbat. Very few of them are lower than 9th generation also. They tend to be very young, though a few of them have diablerized and managed to get to lower generations now, and that's usually the way that they can within this group. The term Caitiff is traditionally used by the Camarilla. It is traditionally their word. In their case, they're more talking about those vampires that are rejected by their sires, abandoned by them, or rejected by their clans. These exiles, basically without clan protection, form the lowest rung within the Camarilla. They basically are the bottom of the barrel, the lowest social standing. Now, Caitiff can come into existence from across the spectrum, from any kind of clan or any kind of bloodline. It is unsure how exactly it happens. It is assumed it is something occurs between sire and child, that there is a lack of inheritance. The weakness of the clan is not passed along. The disciplines of the clan are not passed along. Traditionally, these new Caitiff then can take some of the more common disciplines, those are the ones that they can easily kind of move into, and are the only ones that they seem to inherit. Basically, if one of your sire had a common discipline, that might be something that you actually inherit. This lack of clan weakness, though, can be especially galling on Nosferatu. They hate them for it. Unwanted, abandoned, the Caitiff basically wander about the nights without a sire. Some of them gain a vague recognition of what they really are, others just fall apart and die. They are kind of the lowest ranks in kindred society, the trash at the bottom of the barrel. Some of their mistakes and frenzies and problems like that have resulted in much of their bad reputation, but the fact that they're abandoned and no one's telling them anything kind of leads to that. So a lot of the sins of those that are just wandering about, not really knowing what's going on, are exactly the reason behind everything going on here. The bad reputation, I mean. Some can find the exception and survive very efficiently and effectively. Others are just the trash, basically the garbage vampires that those that follow the Masquerade hate and seek to eliminate. Now, because they lack an inherent clan weakness, many of them do adapt weaknesses, but they adapt them on their own, more psychological. They believe the weaknesses of the popular media of vampires, so some of them will be like, oh no, garlic, or I can't cross running water. They might adopt these things because they don't learn better. Because they lack an inherent clan discipline, this also means they in fact can take any discipline, any one, even clan disciplines. Basically, anything that pertains to their particular strengths of their body, they can learn. If your body allows you to learn a certain clan discipline, you can learn it. Some of them are also even inceptors, basically those that can come up with disciplines on their own, which has elders worried. Elders worried about the Tremere and the Giovanni coming into existence as these powerful interloper clans. They worry about a Caitiff coming up with a new discipline and forming some kind of powerful new bloodline very easily. Also, there are clans that basically hate the Caitiff because they can learn some of these disciplines. If your treasured and secret clan discipline is adapted and developed by some kind of random Caitiff somewhere, then yes, they're going to be trying to hunt those down and eliminate them. They don't want these secrets getting out. Some Caitiff have survived by basically swearing fealty to an elder. This is a way that they can basically get that elder's protection. They might also be able to be adopted by a clan through this method, although the elder would not really confess that this is occurring. Basically, the Caitiff has to overcome centuries of humiliation and basically servitude in order to earn themselves enough respect with this elder that they eventually will basically adopt them into their own clan. Now, the fact is, a lot of this time, this Caitiff will be bloodbound to this elder. They will make sure of it. And enough blood imbibed of the elder eventually begins to have them take on traits of that clan. Effectively, they begin to adopt into that clan. Another role for the Caitiff, though, within the Camarilla is Small Town Prince. This is something a Caitiff can do to basically find their way within the Camarilla. They go to a small town where there is no prince, declare themselves prince. They basically ghoul or control the local government. They might create a childer or two, and then they go about monitoring the Sabbat, werewolves, or any other basic threats to the Camarilla. And then they report back to a prince of a larger city nearby. And as long as things maintain the peace and they keep up the information to said prince, everything is fine. Now, the fact is, if something should mess up and things go awry, especially in this small town prince will be blamed, and more than likely the prince will be sending people to basically take care of the trash and remove this basically incompetent Caitiff from their position. But this small town prince basically is swearing a loyalty to that big town prince, and basically using them as a protectorate in a way, as long as they supply them with all that relevant information. Traditionally, Caitiff are 8th gen or lower. They are the thin-blooded. They brace from any walk of life because if they could embrace each other, it's just they embrace whoever. Though they do have to work because staunch traditionalists will send the Scourge after them. Basically, will seek to eliminate them as they exist. But that's it for today. I introduced you to an interesting group within the vampire universe. A bloodline in a way, but also not a bloodline. The Caitiff. Those that lack a true bloodline to the vampire. So that is a blood, but it isn't a blood. Very interesting there. Now, it is also used as a term to refer to those vampires that have been abandoned by their clan and their sire, and they still have the traits of that clan or sire, they've just been abandoned. But there are those that are this bloodless vampire, this bloodline-less vampires. And they've existed since ancient days. So there are some very old ones also out there. An interesting fact about them, that they are this group that exists out there, but aren't talked about as much. And they can adopt any discipline they really could. But there are dangers to that. There are those that would not seek for them to use their secret disciplines, even though I, as a Caitiff, might be able to master it. They are both, in a way, weak and powerful. They are weak because they have no weakness, but they are the weakest in vampire society. They are powerful because they could truly take any discipline, but they're not as effective at taking clan disciplines. They're in between disciplines, between clan and non-clan disciplines of a normal character would be. So there is an advantage to them. At least not on the social side. But if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. I show support for the channel, the Empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon. Link description below. There's some great rewards there. It helps to grow and improve the channel. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.